Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Father-Son Packers podcast, your source for Packers news, notes, and analysis. My name is Tommy, and I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my dad, Matt. Dad, how are you doing?
Doing all right. I actually, I watched a little football this past weekend. I watched the second half of the
there were some
college
good games.
Football championship. It was the first college game I watched all year.
Did you hear the two crazy Indiana stats before? So today we're going to do a little postmortem about the Packers, but we're also just going to talk about stuff. But did you hear the two Indiana stats that are just insane?
I heard one thing today, that the average age of for Indiana players is only a year and a half less than the Packers.
Yes, they're like 24 years old. That was the market inefficiency that they found, was like, wait, all these people are trying to get these 5-star 19-year-olds. What if we just had fully matured 24-year-olds who are like 3 and 4 stars, and they're just like bigger and stronger because they're 24 years old in their prime, and we just like wreck shop. But the two stats I heard about Indiana were, the first was, so I think they were, before Cignetti got there, like one of the losingest like programs ever. I think they had like the most losses of any Power 5 school.
They've been bad most of their existence.
Okay, so here's the two stats I heard. It was and the second one I did not verify, so it could be wrong, but I heard them on the Ringer Fantasy Show. And the first, Cignetti gets there, and they ask him, like, what are you going to say to, like, recruits to get him there? And he's like, I've won everywhere I've been. Google me. And it was like, okay, you're very confident. All right. Immediately, like, wins, like, goes 10-0 to start his first year, and then goes 16-0 and wins the national championship his second year. It's like, all right, well, you talk the talk and you walk the walk. But the two stats were, in the 136 years that Indiana had existed before Cignetti, Indiana football had existed before Cignetti got there, they had never won double-digit games, and then immediately, both years he's been there, had never won double-digit games, immediately wins double-digit games both years. And the other stat was that no team had won 16 games in a season since Yale in 1894.
I didn't know they played that many games back then.
Yeah, and so since Yale in 1894, and like for reference, the video game about cowboys and like the West called Red Dead Redemption 2 takes place in 1899. So it's like before Red Dead Redemption 2 even takes place. Like that was the last time that a team had won 16 games in a season. But I mean, awesome football story. Like just an amazing underdog, like crazy program rebuild. And did you see the thing about how he was like almost a Packers quarterback coach, I think it was, or wide receiver coach or something like that?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, there was like a Sherman staff like back in the early thousands, before Cignetti went to Alabama, because he was an Alabama wide receiver coach like back in the thousands. But like apparently they like had called and like asked if he wanted to be like an assistant on the staff. But yeah, aren't those stats crazy?
It's really, I mean, Indiana is famous for only caring about basketball.
Yeah, it's a basketball state.
I did see something like, this is going to get other like basketball schools more interested. And all they cared about was, I also saw that Indiana now has the most recent undefeated season in college football and in college basketball.
Oh man, I was going to say, like, because there have been some undefeated regular seasons in college basketball over the past few years, but none of them got all the way to the winning the championship.
Yeah.
Well, men's basketball.
Yes, men's
college basketball.
But men's basketball, men's football.
Yes. But I was going to say, I was like,
50 years ago.
UConn women's, yeah.
1976.
50 on the dot. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a fun stat. I like that. But yeah, I guess Indiana's a football school now. I guess that's what they are now.
I guess so.
But whatchamacallit? But yeah, I mean, crazy run for Indiana. Mendoza looks like he's probably going to be a lock for the first overall pick.
Go to the Raiders or go to the Ravens.
No, I saw that. That's an insane story. They would be.
Is that insane? They can't.
Yes, that'd be insane.
If you're the Ravens, you can't do this deal.
No. And also, if you're but someone also pointed out, I was like, why would the Raiders do this? Because, like, yeah, I mean, cool, awesome, sick getting Lamar, but, like, the team is not built to compete right now. Like, you just be dropping Lamar into, like, a dumpster fire.
With no offensive line.
And no real weapons. Like, you have Bowers, but, like, the receivers are kind of
for his life.
I mean, he's going to be running for his life. I mean, you got Genty, like, maybe you just... But you got no O-line. The defense is, I mean, you got no coach. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand it for either side, but yes, I did see that. I think it's just like a thought piece. Like it's interesting to think about. If you don't know, like someone posited that the Ravens could trade Lamar for Max Crosby and the first overall pick, and draft Mendoza and just reset, which like kind of crazy. But that fourth down from Mendoza in that game was one of the
amazing.
Better plays I've seen in like a long time.
I thought he was going to be stopped for sure.
Yeah.
And then he spins and dodges and dives his way past a couple of tacklers. That was an amazing play.
That was an amazing play. I will say, we'll move on to Packers stuff in a second. But it was really funny to hear everyone singing Fernando by ABBA after the game.
I did not wait that long. Game's over. It's like, I'm done.
Yeah, they were interviewing him. And you could hear the whole
games, whatever. I don't watch post game interviews.
You could hear the whole bowl like screaming the song Fernando by ABBA, which was great. But anyway, we are not a college football podcast, so we're gonna move forward. If you skip this part, that's totally fine. We are here though today.
Timestamp that one.
Yeah, we are here though today to talk about the kind of a little postmortem of the Packers season. We're also going to talk a little bit about the defensive coordinator. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about
the 2025. The 2025 patient is dead.
Yeah, but we're going to talk a little bit about the defensive coordinator interviews so far. So no official hire because since the last time we talked, Jeff Hafley officially was hired as the head coach of the Dolphins. We kind of already knew that was going to happen. That was like a very open, like everyone knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time.
Well, this is the thing I've been thinking. LaFleur said, "Oh, I know Hafley's not going to be here. He's definitely getting a job somewhere." It's like, yeah, he's getting hired by
Eric Sullivan, or John Eric Sullivan,
John Eric Sullivan. So that's why you knew for sure he was going to at least get the Miami job.
Yeah, that was like a guarantee, and hopefully all goes well there. Hafley gets hired, LaFleur gets extended since we last talked. Also, before we do anything, like, subscribe, tell a friend, follow us on Blue Sky at Father Son Packer, et cetera, et cetera. You've heard it before. LaFleur got extended since the last time we talked too. That was like a point of contention. I was happy it happened. What did you think when that happened?
So in the end, I was a little worried. There were some fundamental problems in LaFleur's coaching, the style, play calling, whatever. Failing to beat top teams, coming short in the playoffs. But I thought about it more. I considered it this way. If you think, which I did and do, that Green Bay would have won the division and quite possibly been the 1 seed if they just had Parsons and Tom. They didn't even have just those two players that they both lost, ended up being out for the year in the Denver game. Then I think bringing LaFleur back made sense because they're that close to, easily winning the division, I think, and possibly being the 1 seed in the NFC.
I mean, if they just recover an onside kick, they also win the division. But the thing is,
that's like you could say, okay, that's coaching failure. I
don't think that's. We'll talk about it. The one thing I will say, so LaFleur gets extended. Rumor is 3 years, 3 extra years, so it'd be 4 more years. It'd be 3 tacked onto this 1 year.
Yeah, I've only been able to see that rumor once.
I also saw like a discussion that it might be 4 extra years, so it might be like a 5-year window. So either way, it's 4 or 5 more years. They're also extending Gutekunst and Russ Ball, and they're keeping the current power structure. So there was rumors that they would put Gutekunst back on top and he would oversee Russ Ball and Matt LaFleur, but it is still going to be Ed Policy at the top with each of the 3 of them reporting directly to Ed Policy. So they're all kind of at the same level. That's been what it's been for the past few years, so there's no real change there, but there was just a rumor it might go back to how it was. But so it's going to be that. So extensions for those guys, I think that was like always... I don't think anyone ever had any oh yeah, they shouldn't extend Goody or Russ Ball. And Goody has, a bunch of misses in the first round, but he's kind of made up for it with late round picks, so it kind of evens out.
Right. So he's got to either get somebody else through the first round.
That's fine. We don't have first round picks anymore, which is totally
I know.
Fine.
This is the thing. We trade away picks are bad at.
It's like the picks that we were setting on fire. It doesn't matter. You can get rid of first round picks and third round picks as much as you want, Goody. It's fine.
I would say that the biggest mistake is what do you do? Trade 2/4 to get a third?
Was that was
years ago now.
Who would that have even been for? I don't even remember that.
Was that Oren Burks?
No, that would have been his first draft. I don't think we would have even remembered that.
I can't remember.
Goodness. I don't remember the 2/4 for a third. I remember the using 2 seconds to move up for Watson and being whoa, that's a steep price.
That was rich, yeah.
And then I think we used 2/4 to trade up for Love, which, like, in retrospect, hell yeah. Like, 10 out of 10, do that 100 times. 100 out of 100. What was I going to say? But yeah, so that's the major news there. The one thing I will say about, the stories coming out was like, they're extending LaFleur. That was always the plan. No mandate for him to change his coaching staff. And it's been like a week, and we have no news on any hirings or firings, specifically firings, on the coaching staff, which I'm like a little bit like, okay, like if Rich Bisaccia was going to get fired, he probably would have been by now. So I think it's going to be another year of Rich Bisaccia unless he retires. Like that's the only like possibility.
I think I also agree that's probably most likely. People are saying, well, they were busy with he was busy with his own negotiation for the first week.
It would have happened by now.
But still.
And there's no news about Butkus there's no news about Butkus, the O-line coach, like getting moved on from.
I actually feel like the offensive line is more in need of a new coach than special teams even.
Yeah, I kind of agree, because it's like the O-line's been terrible for like we'll talk about it. It's like been really bad for like 3 years. Like ever since Stenovich got promoted, the O-line has been like pretty bad. Like especially for how much they've invested.
Here's a question for you. I've heard people speculate, well, maybe Hafley will want Stenovich. I'm like, yes, please.
I don't know. I don't really mind Steno. I know some people are like, because like here's the thing, we don't even know what he does. Like, what does he do? I think he like helps the O-line. Like that's all he does. And like I don't.
Unfortunately, you can't demote him back to O-line coach.
Yeah, I mean that'd be perfect, because he was a great O-line coach. But yeah, so that's they need a new O-line coach, because I mean you know what I knew that I didn't think Butkus was like cut out for it was, who was the guy they started next to Hansen? It was Hansen and who was the other guy they started? I don't remember who the guy they started next to him. It was two guys who were just not any good, and they started Royce Newman. Yes, Royce Newman. It was Hansen and Newman, and I was like, I don't think this is it. I don't think the plan here at O-line. I don't think these guys
Hansen
got better.
At guard and Newman at tackle.
No, it was Hansen at center and Newman at guard.
Oh, is that?
I think
is what it was. Both out of position?
No, it's like because they were in the interior and they just couldn't block a soul. And I was like, well, what'd you expect? All right, but no, yeah, so that was terrible.
Yes, the passing off on stunts was stellar.
Yeah, I mean, the O-line's been subpar for years, and I think it's like all traced back to like when Butkus took that job. So that's bad. So I don't love that there have been no announcements of coaching moves. Speaking of coaching moves, though, one other piece of news: the Packers released Trevon Diggs. So that was always going to happen. Like they were never going to pay that contract. So
nobody ever wanted to pay that contract. I mean, it was kind of a shock at the time when they picked him up that they didn't wait for him to clear waivers, and they're like, okay, we'll swallow this $500,000 for the rest of this year to make sure we get him in case we are desperate for. Somebody.
And like it doesn't look good.
Pay him. Mm-hmm. The whatever $45 million were left on that contract.
It's a lot.
I don't know if for this year.
I was going to say it's 15 for this year. I don't know what the total
was. And it's maybe 20 for 2 more years after that or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
But what was I going to say? The in hindsight, it doesn't look good that they paid him $500,000 for like a snap. But like when you think about like, I mean, the corner room was like, it was Keyshawn, Valentine, and then Bo Melton.
Squad.
Yeah, Bo Melton and practice
Melton
squad.
Was out.
Well, but Melton wasn't out at that point. Like when they signed him, like Bo Melton was not out yet. But like because they signed him before the Vikings game, so like because at the time they signed him, it was like okay, the next corner is, and so it's like you kind of understand why they felt like it was a bit of a desperation move, but they were a little bit desperate because they just did not have any corners left. So
if they had the corner get hurt, it was only like
they were playing Simpson and Shamar Bartholomew. Like that was all that was left. Like
so like Melton being corner, they're playing practice squad corners ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean in hindsight, it's not great ROI, but like at the time, it's like you just kind of had to do something in case.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the coaching staff though, because we do have some news. So the Packers are, like we said, looking for a defensive coordinator now. And they have interviewed 4 candidates for that position, and there's like rumors about some interest
or
other
they
places.
Have 4 candidates scheduled for interviews. I don't know if the interviews have all happened.
That's true.
Yet.
We don't know if the interviews have happened yet. So the first one that we heard of, yes. So the first one that we heard about was Christian Parker. And so we have a bunch of stuff on Christian Parker, but then about 30 minutes or 40 minutes before we started recording, Christian Parker was officially hired as the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. So Christian Parker is not going to be the DC of the Packers going into 2026. We do have 3 other interviews that we have heard of. So I'm just going to go through each of these and maybe just give me your thoughts on each of these. And then we'll talk a little bit about some other, potential candidates that we'd like to see at least get interviewed / like what we're looking for in a new DC. So far, besides Christian Parker, the Packers have scheduled for interviews / interviewed. We don't know exactly when the interviews are set to happen. The first, Durante Jones, who has been the Vikings passing game coordinator / defensive backs coach for the past 4 or 5 years under Brian Flores, who also, Brian Flores, not going to be the Packers defensive coordinator. He is officially either going to be the Vikings defensive coordinator or a head coach somewhere. So that was some other news that we got, is that he's going back to the Vikings if he does not get a head coach spot. So Durante Jones, like we said, been heavily involved under that Flores scheme. In terms of looking at how those defenses have stacked up year by year, this is their passing DVOA. So just looking at that, since he's been the passing game and DB coach. So in 2022, when he was the DB's coach, he was not yet the passing game coordinator. They were 3rd by DVOA in passing DVOA. In 2023, they were 11th. And so that was when he was first the passing game coordinator. 2024, first, 2025, 3rd. And the question is just okay, how much is that him? How much is that Flores? But I think you could definitely do a lot worse than trying to get some of that really aggressive type of mentality. The one concern is how much do you have to change the roster to accommodate that kind of philosophy. But I think if he's a good DC, you're just, that's a kind of a champagne problem. It's okay, if we have a good defense, it doesn't really matter. He's a rising star in the coaching ranks. A lot of people think of him very highly. Any thoughts on, him as a potential candidate?
Yeah. So the average, passing DVOA against him was ranked 4.5. Before he was there, the average rank was 13.5 for the 4 years before, but it's hard to disentangle that.
He came in with Flores, right? Same time. Yeah.
I think he was also there 1 year without Flores in 2020 and then came back. So he's I forget, he was I think LSU for a year and then came back to Minnesota. But looking a little bit more, so his average coverage grade rank from PFF. So looking, since he was the DB's coach, 17th, median finish of 17th, I should say, not average. Interceptions per game, median of 12th ranked. And this is maybe not just the DBs, but I was looking at this some of the candidates too. 3rd down conversion rate, median 9th. So I'm looking a little bit at things that drive us crazy, like giving up 3rd down conversions, not getting enough turnovers, and coverage. So if he can bring a kind of defense and defensive attitude that Minnesota's been playing with, I'd be really on board with that.
And so he was actually there 2 years without Flores. So that 2020 year, he was there, and then he came back in 2022, and then Flores got there in 2023. So, he was a holdover from the previous staff. So clearly there was something that Flores liked there. And so he has had some success there without Flores, looking at that. So, that's maybe an argument that he would be able to kind of maybe carry over some of that success. It does also seem like, we'll talk about in a second, the Packers so far have only interviewed coaches with defensive back, with secondary backgrounds, that have been defensive backs.
Yeah.
We'll talk about in a second. They Christian Parker has been a defensive backs guy. Durante Jones has been a defensive backs guy, and then the 2 other guys we'll talk about in a second, Jonathan Gannon and Al Harris, are also defensive backs backgrounds. So that seems to be kind of where they're going, and maybe it's just a little bit of an artifact of the success they had with Hafley and the lack of success they've had in some other places. That maybe they're okay, we're just gonna go with secondary guys because but that does seem to be something they're keeping an eye on.
We desperately need somebody who can coach up our defensive backs. Of course, we also desperately need somebody who can coach up our D-line. D tackles.
I think it's also partially hey, the secondary, they're looking at everything. The D-line, it's beat the guy in front of you. You don't need to know as much of the stuff behind you. But yeah, so I mean, I would be happy with this hire. I think of the people they've interviewed so far, I think that this would be my favorite. I like him even more than Parker, who is obviously not an option anymore. But this would be
was my favorite. But but he's off the table.
For me, for Parker, and we don't need to talk too much about this, but like I just didn't really want another Fangio guy. Like it seems like every time someone tries to take the Fangio thing somewhere else, it just doesn't work without Fangio, which like I think is like we've seen enough. Like Staley didn't work, Joe Barry didn't work. I mean, Staley kind of worked, I guess, but that's just kind of my thought. Anything else on Durante Jones you want to talk about? I mean, he's also a young guy, would probably bring some energy, which would be good. The next guy though, Jonathan Gannon. I'll just go ahead and say my least favorite of the interviews so far. He had been the Cardinals head coach for the last 3 years, and he was the Eagles defensive coordinator before that in 2021 and 2022. So looking at just their total defensive DVOA, so this is not just passing because he was in charge of the whole defense in all these places. In 2021, they were 23rd. In 2022, with the Eagles, when they made the Super Bowl and lost, they were the number one defense by DVOA, but that was heavily influenced by just like a crazy pass rush season from like, I think it was Hassan Reddick and like a bunch of other guys who had like insane years that year. And then 2023, when he went to the Cardinals, they were 32nd. Then 2024, they were 14th. And then 2025, they were 21st. I mean, he's pretty much just kind of, made a lot of money off of one really good year as the defensive coordinator with the Eagles. Never really put together very good defenses with the Cardinals. I don't see why you would hire him. I don't get this interview, and I would not be happy with this hire, at least for me. What do you think?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. I mean, basically like, I don't know, wish casting with this hire. It's like, we think this guy should be good for some reason. But yeah, I looked at some other defensive metrics, third down conversion rate given up over those like 5 years where he's been head coach in DC. His median finishes 25th in the league.
Yeah, it's not
interceptions taken per game. Median finishes 21st in the league. And then stylistically, he doesn't blitz much. And his pressure rate does not match up.
Yeah, I mean,
he had that worse, 1 year. For that 120 year in 2022. Like
where I think they set like the record for pressures in a season at the time or something like that. It was like an obscene number of pressures. Like they were like way up there.
Their pressure rate was second in that year. They only blitzed the 18th highest rate. And they have a lot of like their pressure rates are 29th, 27th, 32nd, second,
his other years,
and 22nd. So every other year was terrible in pressure rate, except for that 1 year.
I don't see what he would bring to the table. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And he's he's not exactly like a rah motivator type either. He's kind of like a quieter guy. Like I don't think there's the personality, because like I think you want someone that's kind of like a bit of a foil personality wise to LaFleur at this point, where they're able to like be a motivator, because that's not really LaFleur's thing. And so it's like I don't think the personality makes sense. He is not shown to be like a super high level defensive mind. I don't understand the interview. Like at that point, I'm like, why are we even interviewing this guy? This would be a terrible hire.
I do want, for defense especially, like some kind of crazy fire and brimstone nut job who can motivate people to run there. But then like, also plan things well.
To be fair, Hafley wasn't really that, but
no,
like
he wasn't.
And it worked fine. So
here's a question I wanted to bring up about
Hafley. This is your Campanile question.
Yeah, so we talked about this earlier today. So it feels like without Micah, the defense was much worse this year.
And to be fair,
than last year without Micah.
To be fair, when they didn't have Micah, they also didn't have Wyatt. And last year, they also had Kenny. And Gary was actually playing like an NFL player. So like you were really down like a few players.
Gary wasn't that good in 2024.
He was much better than he was in 2025.
Well,
that's how bad how bad he was in 2025.
Second half of 2025. But how much credit for that 2024 defense should go to Campanile?
I mean,
who left, and now Jacksonville's defense
is pretty good.
Is really good.
Yeah, and to be fair, Jacksonville's defense. Yeah, that's true. But Jacksonville's defense also, was healthier. Is like the other counter. I think Hafley is really good at coaching up the secondary. That's why. That's why my opinion was like when like Hafley to me is like a good DC, but he's not like an irreplaceable difference maker. Like he's not like a Spags. He's not a Flores. Like he's not one of these guys. He's not one of these guys where it's just like, oh, this is like a true like difference maker, like guy that you need to like protect at all costs. Like I think he's a good DC, and we've just had so many terrible defensive coordinators that he looks like a godsend by like comparison. But
I also feel like we're losing Halfley. Defense is mostly done well, but I still think there's a chance to upgrade here.
Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying is like I think you can find a better defensive coordinator. Now, does our track record show that we're going to be able to find a better defensive coordinator? Because really, LaFleur has hired, what is it, 2 OCs, 3 special teams coordinators, and 2 DCs. Because like I'm not counting Patton because he was already here. And of those, like 7 hires,
one has worked out.
I mean, it depends how you feel about Hackett as an OC. I think he was like fine as an OC, and like the offense was good. So like you could maybe
the offense
say that.
is good when Hackett was the OC.
Yeah. So, but like
Gold
also,
zone.
but he's also not calling plays. So it's like, how much is that really him? And you could say the same thing about Stenovich. I think you could argue he's fine. But really the only one that was like tangibly like making a positive impact is Halfley. And so it's like, the hit rate's not been great. So it definitely could get worse. But I guess, that's Gannon. I would not want Gannon.
The assistant coach hiring will continue until morale.
Yeah.
improves.
I mean, just keep going. As long as we move off of the guys that are bad quickly, which, we also don't do. So like, double whammy. The last guy that has interviewed for this job though, Al Harris, you might remember him, former Packers corner. He has been a defensive backs coach for a number of years.
On the field response to, we want the ball,
we want the ball, we're going to
score.
score. Yeah. Defensive backs coach, passing game coordinator for the Bears last year. He had also been a defensive backs coach for the Cowboys for several years prior to that, from 2020 to 2024. In terms of the passing DVOA of the units that he's coached, last year the Bears were 24th. Year before that, the Cowboys, where he were 16th, and then years before that, they were 7th, 5th, and 2nd. So like they were pretty good there for a little while, but also haven't been good recently. I think this would be a cooler story than a hire, in my opinion. Like I don't know if I love this as a hire. But yeah, any thoughts on Al Harris as like a potential reunion there?
So the passing game DVOA for Dallas before he got there, for the last 2 years where they could get the numbers, they're only 8th and 17th. So they improved when he got there. His coverage grades is his median finish is 15th, so middle of the pack.
Yeah.
PFF coverage. Interceptions taken per game, because the thing about they're first last year, and they were first once in Dallas too. But overall, the median rank of 10.5, so like top third in the league. Third down conversion rate given up, median rate really middle of the pack, 17.5. But that's not just on him, not running the whole defense. So, I mean, I think he's.
Here's my question:
coaching some aggressive. This is when,
and they got a lot of takeaways.
Diggs was taking the ball away,
and the Bears like led the league in takeaways this year, so you could argue he's definitely had an impact on that. But I don't know. I'm like wondering, like, why are we interviewing so many coaches from like bad defenses? Like we're interviewing guys from defenses that are not good. I'm like, this is like what we want to add. So like, let's talk a little bit, because we are also going long on this part, and we were going to talk about a bit of a postmortem. We've been talking about DCs for like 20 minutes, which is like fine. I mean, this is a free form. Is there anyone that has not been interviewed? Because like my question is like, why do we keep interviewing these guys that like are from bad defenses that we really want to bring in this? Like, I guess, is there anyone that has not been interviewed that you would like to see them interview?
The one I want the most is like they're not allowed to interview yet, and that's Jim Leonard.
Yes, from the Broncos,
and so they have to wait till they can interview. I think after this week, win or lose.
Yes,
after this weekend's game, but they can't sign him until after they've played the last game. So, which could also be this week, considering that Stidham is going to be starting. Man, what a kick in the nuts that is, to like win the game, and then you find out like press conference afterwards. What do you mean we lost our? How do we lose our quarterback for the year?
Yeah,
on what on the last like 3 plays?
That's really brutal.
At least one of which was a kneel down.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, so Leonard, there were rumors that he had been offered the job when Joe Barry got the job, and he turned it down because I guess like he was aiming for the Wisconsin head coaching job. Those rumors
people
were like have been
rumor down.
Yeah, said that that's not true. A lot of people have said so. Believe what you will. But he's been the defensive back coach for Denver for a few years. They've been very good along that defense, and that defense has been good. So I'd be cool with that hire. I'd love to at least interview him. I think the guys that I'm also looking at, I would like them to. I think if you have a defensive coordinator opening and you don't interview people from the Seahawks, I think you're like not doing your due diligence. Like that's my take. Like you need to at least interview those guys and get like an idea of what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, this if you just watch that last game against,
they're
against San Francisco,
they're insane.
Certainly looked like you should be.
And part of it's the how much of it is McDonald. I mean, it's probably a lot. Like, and that's fair. It's like you're not going to be able to bring McDonald over. Part of it's the players. They have a really good roster on defense. But if you don't at least interview guys from this defense, I think it's like, what are you doing? Like, you should be interviewing guys from the best defense in the league. Like, even if you don't hire them, at least interview them. So that's like Aiden Dirty is currently the Seahawks defensive coordinator. He'd actually interviewed for the DC job with the Packers before, I think when they hired Hafley. The question is, would the Seahawks let him? Because it would be a lateral move technically, but also McDonald calls the defensive plays. So it'd be like sort of a promotion. And it's just about whether or not the Seahawks would let him go to Green Bay or let him interview for that job. So that's like kind of up in the air because it's a lateral move technically.
Right. They're allowed to block him, but it would be an improvement on his resume and give him more responsibility. And it's the kind of thing that LaFleur got to do going from the Rams to the Titans.
It's just about McDonald. Well, and the thing is with Rams to Titans, like it's out of conference. Like whereas this would be in conference. You could argue like, hey, they don't want to let this go to like another NFC team. Like if it was an AFC team, maybe, but maybe not another NFC team. But either way, Carl Scott, also from the Seahawks, defensive passing game coordinator, DB's coach. I just think you should be interviewing guys. And then I've always had some interest in Dave Merritt, the Chiefs defensive backs coach, just because I think the Chiefs defensive backs are really well coached, and I would like something from the Spags flavor. And then you had one more. Raheem Morris is interesting because Domofsky said that he is is on the list that the Packers are interested.
But I also then saw a rumor recently that maybe he's not really on the list. I don't know, but he's a guy where people were connecting a lot of dots because of the history with LaFleur and Morris having some connection in the past. But he was the head coach at Atlanta for the last 2 years. Only lasted 2 years, and their defenses those 2 years were 12th and 19th by DVOA.
And I don't think he was calling the defensive plays. I'm pretty sure because this past year their defensive coordinator was Jeff Ulbrich, who is a very well respected defensive coordinator who had been with the Jets previously. And he's staying with the Falcons actually, because he did such a good job. They felt unclear like how much, because Morris obviously is like a lot of input on the defense. He's a defensive guy, but I don't know if he was calling plays.
And before going to Atlanta as the head coach, he was the Rams defensive coordinator. At those 3 years, he was 22nd, 18th, and 3rd by DVOA, counting backwards in time. So third was his first year there. His first year there. So I've been counting backwards, and you've been counting forwards. So we've got that going for us.
He was 3rd in that 2021 year, and he was like coming in off of them being like 1st, I think, the year before under Brandon Staley. And so he was kind of like just continuing Staley's thing. And so, the numbers are not great with him, like as a DC. He's very respected around the league. I think he would like be like I think the players would like him, but again, I don't know if he's exactly like a schematic genius. I do like the like idea of hiring a guy who has failed as a head coach, because then you just get to keep him. And you don't need to like do the rehire thing over and over again. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't think his resume just as a DC is like impressive enough and there's also rumors that he might want to do TV. So like he might not even be interested.
Yeah. And so I would just say like the 4 of the 5 years when he was sort of in charge of the defense as the head coach for the DC, they're very mid. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I wouldn't even love that. I mean, I could talk myself into it, but I just don't think it doesn't really move the needle for me. Anything else on defensive coordinator stuff that you want? I mean, I just think that you should be interviewing people from good defenses and like at least getting, if nothing else, pick the brain of the Seahawks people. So like down the line, like when you need to play them, like you have some idea of like how they think about defense. If nothing else, even if like you don't end up hiring the guy, you at least get some intel about maybe how to like pick at their defense a little bit, like that's like the minimum that you get out of that. And so even that's like something. But so I'm interested to see, because like, I mean, if they just announce tomorrow, like, hey, we've hired Jonathan Gannon, I'll be so disappointed. And like also at this time 2 years ago when they hired Hafley, it was like really out of nowhere because he wasn't even on the interview list. I don't think they even announced that they interviewed him.
Yeah, he was really under the radar.
There's a chance
kind of on brand.
Yeah, and it worked out. So so there's a chance that that's there's something else, going on that we just don't hear about. But anyway, I think that kind of does it for defensive coordinator talk, unless there's anything else you wanted to discuss. We're going to do a little bit of postmortem, talking about, what went right for the Packers, what went wrong for the Packers. Specifically this year, I think we each have the biggest thing that went right and the biggest thing that went wrong. And later down the line, we're going to do a biggest needs episode. So this is kind of tangential to that in some ways. But we're going to have a whole episode about ranking the biggest needs for the Packers in the offseason. So keep your eyes and ears tuned for that. But Dad, do you want to start us off? We'll start with some positives. We'll start with, what do you think Green Bay did well this year in 2020? What went well for Packers in 2025, 2026?
I'm jumping on the obvious one here, the passing game and Jordan Love year. So Green Bay was third in EPA per pass as a team on the season, according to NFL Pro. Also second in dropback EPA and fifth in dropback success rate, according to RBSDM. And second in passing offense, according to PFF. And Love is showing us a high reward, but without much downside kind of play.
Yeah.
It's fifth in the league in big time throw rate, according to PFF, with the ninth lowest turnover worthy play percentage, and so that turnover worthy play percentage was better than all but one of the four QBs who was ahead of him in big time throw rate. And that was Joe Burrow. He had the 12th lowest bad throw percentage in the league, according to Pro Football Reference, which is better than all the QBs ahead of him in big time throw rate, except for Burrow again. And so these numbers all while having the seventh highest average depth of target per PFF and the 10th highest on target throw percentage. Which again and that on target throw percentage was the best of all the QBs and who are at least as good as he was in big time throw rate. So he's making big time throw rate, big time throws. He's not costing you with making big mistakes very often. People say, "Oh, he's throwing all these interceptions," but that's actually not that often. So he's efficient. He's making big time throws. He's throwing the ball downfield, and he's not costing you with a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, the passing game was so much better this year, and something I was going to talk about was a secondary thing. It's also I thought there were, and this is kind of related to that. The receivers had a really good year, I thought. In conjunction with Jordan Love throwing the ball really well. I think Watson, you could argue, had the best year of his career coming off of injury. Dobbs had another really strong year and capped it off with an awesome playoff performance. Wicks was battling injury for a lot of the year, but had his best game as a pro against the Lions on Thanksgiving. Reed was battling injury a lot of the year. That's kind of a tough one. I would say down year, but also injured for a lot of it. Golden, I thought, had, didn't get a lot of usage, but when he did, was efficient with it and had a good rookie year. I would have liked to see more of him, but I think he, all things considered, had a pretty good year. And then, I would say Malik Heath, Bo Melton, fine years. And then Savion Williams, I don't really know what to do with Savion Williams, but at least he had one really awesome catch against the Giants that was really important.
Barely a receiver this year, but he did have the great contested catch.
It was one of three downfield targets for him over the course of the entire year. He's such a weird player.
Yeah, for a while he had a negative ADOT on the year.
Yeah, he's a weird player. But anyway, I'm excited to see what he maybe does in year two. But yeah, so the passing game was really good this year. And the receivers played well. Jordan Love played well. Malik Willis played well too. The passing game, the quarterbacks and the receivers were all really good this year, I thought. And so that's why it's last year I was in the camp where I was I think we should fire the receivers coach, because the receivers could not catch the ball. And you look and it's okay, this guy's a first time coach. He had been the O-line, I think, assistant before that. So he didn't really have a lot of experience with receivers. And I was okay, the receivers are playing bad. And you've got a first time, position coach who has background not in this position. I feel we can connect the dots and it's not great. But then this year they had a really good year. So I think that Mahaffey is the receivers coach. And I think they did pretty well. So I'm now in the camp they should keep him. And I guess we'll see how next year goes. Beyond that, the other positive I wanted to say, we did really well explosive plays both ways. We created a lot of explosive plays in the passing game, and then we also limited explosive plays really well on defense. We allowed the 7th lowest explosive pass rate and also the 3rd lowest explosive run rate. So really we got yards churned out against us, but we did a really good job of not getting beat over the top. And I think that's mostly, I would say, probably a testament to the safety play, between McKinney, Williams, and Bullard at times. So I think that's a lot to do with them, but also, a lot to do with the coaching as well. And so, hopefully that can continue on into next year, but there's a chance it doesn't. And so, I would like to look back on that at least fondly, because that might not be the case next year.
Yeah. So just looking at the safeties, I went over throughout the league, the average defensive grade for the top 2 safeties on every team. And that's top 2 safeties based on their snap count per team. And Green Bay had the 5th best pair of top safeties in the league. And then, another part of sort of the explosive plays, of the explosive runs, their open field run defense per FTN Fantasy was 6th best in the league. So we
were really good at tackling this year.
The downfield part of run defense, not the at the line part of run defense.
But honestly, just tackling in general, we were really good this year. That was another thing that Halfley brought, because the past 2 years we've been really good at tackling, and that's another thing that I think Halfley maybe doesn't get credit for, but I think he should, because I think the fundamentals on defense, besides when we were blowing coverages, were pretty good overall. Yeah. So.
Especially the first half, we were really rallying to the ball. Remember, Jameer Gibbs set the record for fewest yards for 10 receptions because they were all over him every time he got the ball.
Yeah. That was a big thing early in the year. And, I think the tackling was pretty good. Every game except for the Ravens game, I felt like the tackling was pretty good. The Ravens game was atrocious.
I don't know what happened in that game.
I don't know what they were doing. What the hell happened in that game. It was so bad.
What did they do to get ready for that game?
What did they think was going to happen in that game? I don't understand it. I'm convinced they were just all right, guys, we're just taking the wild card spot, whatever. It's fine. It's pretty much it's a narrow shot for, to get the division at this point. Let's just pack it in, take it easy. Which not great, but otherwise I have no idea what the hell happened in that game. Yeah. And then the other thing that I would say, was a positive this year, I think we got some positive stuff from players that we thought were totally cooked. And by that, I mean Jordan Morgan had some flashes at tackle. Lucas Van Ness doesn't look like a total, complete, absolute one of the worst first round picks of the last half decade, bust. And then Tyron Hopper looks like a serviceable middle linebacker down the line. I thought he looked pretty good in preseason when he got shots. So I think it was also a good year for guys that we thought we had almost totally given up on and showed some promise for next year. It was going to be my takeaway.
Yeah, because we looked for a while Morgan wasn't doing anything. Let's put him back in his actual position.
Let's actually play him at a position he's played before and played well at. It's that helped.
And Van Ness was our second best edge rusher, except he missed a big chunk. That was where he was hurt. You say upset how low
bar.
Can anybody do limbo under that bar?
Yeah, low bar. But before that, I mean, he looked like our 5th best edge rusher. So he was better this year. So that's
there's just a way to think about setting the bar low. If you're doing limbo, the lower you set the bar, the harder it is.
That's true. But I think I'm guessing it's a.
You think it's more of a high jump than a limbo?
I think it's more of a high jump scenario. But what's McCall? And then Hopper, solid. So yeah, I think there's some guys that showed promise for next year, we'll say. So that's at least some good news, I would say, some positives. Any other positives, or you want to talk about some negatives? Because I've
Let's go on.
Okay.
We have some.
I think the biggest negative, I'll just go ahead. The O-line was terrible this year. We already talked about this, but the O-line was just god awful for the majority of the year. And even they had some okay time, but mostly just horribly inconsistent, really just a total detriment to the entire offense. Pass blocking was okay. I would say average, but you also have to keep in mind, you got a super high paid right tackle, a super high paid left guard, a day 2 pick at center and a day 2 pick at right guard. And, Rasheed Walker, who's a 3-year starter at left tackle, even if he was a low pick. I would say 4 of those 5 guys were completely below average to bad this year. Everyone but Tom was below average to bad. And also I forgot Elton Jenkins started half the year, but he was also below average to bad. I would say 5 of the 6 players who played substantial snaps were just bad this year, on the O-line. So the pass blocking was okay. 12th highest pressure rate allowed, but the time to pressure and time to throw were really good. So part of that's just the way we play offense, where we're holding the ball and trying to take shots downfield. So it's a bit of a function of that. And we did have to protect them a little bit by running a lot of play action, but pass blocking was not great, but it was okay. But then there were moments where it just totally fell apart. That was the thing. It's it'd be fine. And then Browns game. Can't block anyone.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. Third quarter of the Bears game. Can't block anyone. It's like, okay, just out of nowhere, you just can't pick up a stunt. You can't pick up a blitz.
Second half of the Broncos game.
Second half of the Broncos game. Can't block anyone. Like, it would just have these moments where it just was meltdown. Just complete meltdown. Run blocking, though. Oh, my goodness. What a nightmare. Middle of the pack in yards before contact per attempt, but sixth lowest on inside runs. Like, anytime we had to actually get pushed, could not do anything, could not move guys. 16th in success rate overall, 20th in success rate on short yardage runs. Honestly, if you told me we were 20th, I'd tell you that feels high. It did not feel that good during the season. 20th in adjusted line yards per attempt, just could not get any movement. And like I said, I mean, between Walker, Banks, Ryan, and Belton, that's like 4 below average to just bad starters. And I mean, my question for you is, do you think the plan was bad, the execution was bad, or both?
Both.
So, okay, so going into the year...
The Banks plan was bad.
Bad. Terrible.
Jenkins
terrible
had a
idea.
bad year.
I think the plan for Jenkins was good, because I don't think anyone would think like, oh, like, move him to his college position, play center, like, he'll at least be like as good as Josh, like he'll be at least be better than Josh Myers. So it's like, no, he wasn't that much better than Josh Myers. Like, Sean Ryan came in and was better at center, like, which is like, I think like that's a plan good, execution terrible. Like, I think that went about as badly as you could imagine.
Yeah, but if you look at PFF grades, they like Jenkins a lot more than Ryan.
I watched the games. He was not better than Ryan.
So he was like one of the. Ryan is like one of the bottom 5. Banks centers. Banks like one of the.
Banks stunk. Banks was terrible.
Guard or...
Belton was. That's the other thing is like the plan of Morgan at guard, bad. Not repping Belton at guard in preseason, bad. Like that. So that's like a plan thing. Like, that's like a terrible planning. And so like that's like I think you could say the plan was bad there. Now you kind of knew the tackles were set, and the question was like guard, center, guard. What's it going to be? And again, I think next year the tackles probably set. Like, you're probably having Morgan at left tackle and guard, center, guard. I'm really worried. Like, I'm really worried about guard, center, guard next year, because Ryan's a free agent, and you're going into next year where it's like Banks, Jacob Monk, and Anthony Belton. That has a potential to be one of the worst interiors in football, because it's essentially just like this year's, and then you're putting in a worse center. I'm so not psyched. I'm so not psyched to see the interior. They need so many additions there. They probably need to cut Banks. We'll talk about offseason moves later. But then you need to replace Banks. So it's like, I'm really worried about the O-line. Is there anything you wanted to say? I mean, like I said, do you think plan? Do you think execution? What do you think was more of the problem this year?
Well, I think they're equal. I mean,
you think it's 50-50?
Walker had a terrible year. Yeah. So that wasn't a plan.
He had probably his like worst year. Yeah.
Yeah. The Banks was bad planning. We overpaid for a guy who was basically the same as he's been his entire career.
Yeah, he's never been good.
Was exactly what you'd expect.
I don't know what they expected.
So they expected more than he'd ever done in his career, and they got basically the standard Banks experience.
Have you seen the Arrested Development Dead Dove, Do Not Eat clip?
I don't think so.
So Jason Bateman's character, because like his brother Will Arnett's character is like a magician, and so like he has like for some reason, so he goes into the freezer and he sees a paper bag and it says "Dead Dove, Do Not Eat," and then he opens it and looks inside, and it's a dead dove, and he's like, I don't know what I expected. And that's me with the Aaron Banks. Like, Aaron Banks, they signed him to play guard and he plays terribly. It's like, I don't know what I expected. Like, he's been bad his whole career. So yeah, I mean, that's a bad plan, bad execution, just is nasty, just nastiness. But I think the plan for center was good, was fine. Like, it just didn't work.
It sounded good going in.
Exactly. Like, I think that plan is fine. It just didn't work. And
they
then
may have been better off if they had left Jenkins at center.
Jenkins at left guard.
Jenkins at guard, moved Ryan to center, never signed Banks.
Or just like...
Or sign Myers.
Sign Myers for no money.
Back and just save like that $15 million a year or whatever it is.
And it was just as good. That was the funny part. Like, I remember saying, I was like, are we sure Banks for 17 and not Myers for 3? And I was like, hey, man. And then I think the plan for right guard was like, I mean, playing Morgan at right guard was always terrible, and not repping Belton in the preseason at guard was always terrible. But like I think the idea of having like, hey, one of Ryan, Morgan, or Bank or Belton is going to get that right guard spot. I think that's an okay plan. I just don't think Morgan was never a guard. I don't know why we kept trying to make him work at guard. He's never been a guard, so I don't know.
He's just so much better at every time you put him at tackle than he ever is at guard.
Yeah, and to be fair, small sample size at tackle in the NFL, but he's been better at tackle. That's for sure. No, so I guess we'll see. Hopefully, he's able to hold up at left tackle next year, because obviously that's why we picked him. But so yeah. Anything else on the O-line? Because I mean, the O-line is next year could be a total travesty again, and that's why they need a new O-line.
Yeah, I think they've got some big. They got to make changes again this year on the O-line. We'll see what happens.
Probably gonna have to draft 2 more O-linemen. You know what's bad when I'm like, I wonder how Travis Glover's healing up. So I was like, I wonder if Travis Glover's going to be ready for next year.
Travis Glover for the year.
I was like,
make a difference.
I wonder if Travis Glover could start at guard. I was legitimately thinking that the other day. I was like, I wonder if Travis Glover. I was also thinking, you know what else I was thinking? I was like,
let's think about Williams.
Well, I was thinking, like Morgan left tackle, Belton right tackle, Tom center.
Oh, that's bonkers.
And then fix the guards later.
That really is bonkers. No, I'm thinking. I'm thinking
they don't have a center. I don't think Jacob Monk is. I mean,
he had a really good game his last game.
Did he against the Vikings?
Yeah, he had a really good game.
I guess I don't know. They have never seemed to like really want to do that. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think he's going to be able to compete for that spot next year for sure. So, but yeah, so I guess O-line, terrible this year. Awful. And I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. We're going to have to keep digging. What was your biggest like negative from the year though?
To me, it's defense lacking run stoppers up front.
I was surprised you put this.
Well,
I really was.
If you look at it, like when we really, our run defense is good for linebackers and safeties. The defensive line, however, as a team, Green Bay is 21st in adjusted line yards on defense, according to FTN Fantasy. 24th in power success given up, so short yardage situations. 23rd in stuff percentage, at or behind the line of scrimmage. So they're not doing that. Per NFL Pro, they're 22nd in yards before contact per attempt on defense.
Yeah.
And if you look at the individual players, of the 170 defensive tackles with at least 100 snaps, in PFF's run defense grade, Green Bay defensive tackles came in at Wooden 114th, Stackhouse 121, Brooks 140, Wyatt 143, Brinson 148. So that means
it's not good.
Green Bay's top defensive tackles in snap count, they have 2 who essentially are bottom half defensive tackle 4s. And the other 3 are defensive tackle 5s. If you think about 30 of them, 1 per team.
And it kind of tracks with the numbers of like our success rate, like defending the run is like bottom like 6, I think. And then like we didn't give up explosives, which is kind of testament to like D-line couldn't do anything. Linebackers and safeties had good years. Like that's kind of how it went.
Interestingly, Jonathan Ford was better than all of them.
I wouldn't mind bringing him back.
At 109th.
Yeah. You know who else I felt like was actually pretty good too? It was Jordan Riley before he got hurt. I thought he was having like a decent time too.
So another way to look at how well we're performing against the run for D tackles, stops per run play for defensive tackles. I calculate this for all those defensive 170 players with at least 100 snaps. Here we were a little better. Wyatt was 34th, so top half of D tackle 2. That's better than D tackle 4. Bottom half of D 4. Wooden 49th. So we got a D tackle 2 and we got 2 D tackle 2s now.
Yeah, and like Wooden had a nice like first half of the year, and then the second half just kind of tailed off.
Brinson 135th, Brooks 145th, Stackhouse 165th.
Yeah.
So overall defensive grade, run grade, bad per player. Stops per run play.
The run
a little
defense,
better, but still not great.
It never like felt like a catastrophic problem, except for the like Ravens game aside. The run defense to me, it never felt that bad though. I don't know.
We had halves where we couldn't get a stop.
Halves, yeah. I mean,
where we just couldn't get off the field
because the Panthers game and the Bears game the first time were like the second half of the first Bears game. Like those were the two, and like obviously I'm just not even gonna think about the Ravens game, but like those two were like the ones where I remember was like, dang, we just cannot get off field. And then the fourth quarter of the Browns game,
Yeah,
and also and I was gonna say also chunks of the Cowboys game. But I do think that like, for the most part, I didn't think the run defense was like, it wasn't good, but I don't think it was like losing us games, like except for a couple.
In times we couldn't get off the field because we couldn't get stops. And the only reason we held up is because we had good safeties and linebackers.
I guess my question is, if you have good safeties and linebackers, like where would you, we'll do an episode on this later, but like, do you think D-tackle or like a run stopping D-tackle, like, is that like a huge need in your opinion in the offseason?
Yes.
Okay, because
I
don't think it's...
Here's what I think.
Okay.
By forcing the linebackers to have so much run support or rely on them for run support so much, you probably take away from the pass defense in the middle of the field.
It's fair. I don't know. I just think that the run defense was like... the success rate was really bad, and we let them churn out yards, but we were able to get like some decent stops in like 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 like areas. Like we were able to get those stops when we really needed them. I just felt like it never felt like there were times where like teams would churn out yards against us, like the Panthers game, like the second half of the Week 14 Bears game. But I don't know, because like the first half of that Week 14 Bears game, they couldn't run the ball on us at all. And really in the playoff game, I thought we defended the run really well as well. Like I didn't think we really gave up very much like on the ground at all. And like it was like 3 yards a carry in that game. Like it wasn't that bad.
The run defense mostly looked pretty good that game.
Yeah, so it's like I felt like
felt like it's not reliable.
I mean, like if you're performing in a playoff game, to me that's like okay, like that's against probably the top 3 run offense in the league, and you hold them to 3 yards to carry in a playoff game. Like to me, that's like, I mean, what more do you want from them?
But that may also contribute to the fact that what I'm worried about is relying on your linebackers to fill against the run all the time. You're bringing them close to the line of scrimmage, and you're opening up that window for tight ends and people that cut across the middle of the defense for open passes.
I think that was also like I think the linebackers just also weren't very good in coverage this year. Like I think that was also like I don't know. To me, it's like I think O-line's the biggest need for the team. Personally, I think second biggest need is probably another pass rusher. To me, third biggest need is corner, and then fourth biggest need is D-tackle. I think
we got enough edge rushers,
not good ones.
For me, we
got a lot of like
2 D-tackles, 2 corners, 2 offensive linemen.
Okay, but here's my question. So you felt like the pass rush, like we have enough edge rushers. But what did the pass rush look like when Micah wasn't out there? It was like the worst in the league.
Well, we were missing Micah and LVN for a lot of the
year. No, we had
LVN
for all the time we lost Micah. LVN was out there.
Was he ready by then?
Here's the other thing. He still looked better than he's ever looked. This is the best he's looked. Was still these, like, you could say.
Yeah, but I think we can expect more out of Sorrell and Oliver in their second year.
Well, you can't say that about Oliver. He played like 10 snaps. Like I don't think you can say that about Oliver. Sorrell, sure, but you're also losing.
We also were out without Cox for a lot of the year too.
Sure, but you're also losing Enigbare. So like I would say Sorrell and Enigbare, you can say that's a 1-for-1 to me. Like you could, I think you can convince yourself that that's just like a net neutral. But Gary's leaving for as bad as like you think Gary played this year. He like coming into this year, he was supposed to be a big part of the pass rush.
Yeah,
and so you're losing that.
He was edge 4.
By the end of the year, he was edge 4, and that's why I'm totally fine with you moving on from him. But coming into the year, he was supposed to be a big part of the pass rush. So like you're losing essentially like part of the plan for the pass rush from last year. LVN is going into his 4th year. I think you need to, like, you're deciding on the 5th year option. I don't think you pick it up. Like I don't see the reason for that. And so he's going into his last year, and then Micah hopefully will be back at the start of next season, but we don't know exactly when. And then we don't know like if he'll be on a snap count, like et cetera, how that goes. Like that's like kind of an unknown right now. And then so like, who are your pass rushers? Like,
yeah, the beginning of the year might be rough. I am in favor of bringing back one of Cox or Enigbare.
Pax, sure, but Enigbari is going to be. I don't see the point. Like, you drafted two edge rushers for a reason. Well, you drafted two edge rushers for a reason. Like,
yeah,
like
so you think we have enough edge rushers?
I think we have enough depth edge rushers. I just don't think Enigbari is like a guy that's like the type of guy you pay. I think you can find an Enigbari in the 5th round, which we did. Like, and so I feel like I would like to sign a DPR guy or like draft a guy in like the 3rd round that's like an edge guy, because like I just don't think we have enough pass rush right now, and like we did.
Well, I think
last
maybe
year.
we need another D tackle pass rusher, because we only
that's why you were saying like a run stuffer is like, that's why I'm like
like one of each, depending on who's available, the best D tackle available.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer a D tackle that's more of a pass rush specialist, just because we just don't have, we get just no pass rush. There's no pass rush on the team. But yeah, anyway. Anything else like negative that you wanted to touch on? I mean, the run game was really bad, but I'm kind of chalking that up to the O-line. The corners were not good, but yeah. Anyway, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening. This has been the Father Son Packers podcast with a little bit of a postmortem, a lot of DC talk, talking about, coordinator hirings, talking about the interviews. So if you want to stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Packers defensive coordinator search, follow us on Blue Sky at Father Son Packer. And again, we'll be doing an episode every single week of the offseason, once a week. So keep that dial tuned here. Once again, Spotify, YouTube. We're back on YouTube. We figured that out. Shout out Eli for fixing the YouTube stuff. Woo-hoo. So shout out to him.
Grandma Abigail was asking me about what are the links. Like, I've been watching. It was like, do you have Spotify? It's like, no, I've been watching YouTube. Okay, well,
YouTube's back. It's back. And then also on Apple as well. So check that out there. Once again, thank you for listening. We will talk to you next week. And until next time, go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.